we have a question online.
Okay, thank you. Nina Larson, AFP. Thanks for this briefing. First, for Ms. Albanese, thank you for doing this. I was wondering if you could say a little bit more about the complicity issue when it comes to the U.S. Secretary of State Rubio said today that the U.S. is showing unwavering support for Israel in its war as it continues in Gaza. And you also have, as has been mentioned here, the revoked visas, the sanctions against you and others. So, I mean, could you just say a little bit more about how complicit, I guess, you think that the U.S. is in what you're describing as a genocide? And then also, what do you think the consequences for the U.S. should be for this? And finally, I also had a question. I wanted to ask you how the sanctions have impacted you personally. And sorry, I have just one small question for Ms. Khan. I wanted to ask about, you compared the number of journalists killed in Gaza to a number of other conflicts. What was the conflict before this that had the most journalists killed? Could you provide some more figures on that? Thank you.
Okay. So I will have to encourage you to wait another couple of weeks regarding full answer to that question regarding complicity, because this is the topic of my next report to the General Assembly, which again, just to also go back to the first question, yes, I'm trying to go to the United States. Things look not particularly promising, but this is what I should be doing. There is one fact. The United States has been for decades backing Israel and Israeli government, various subsequent Israeli government, militarily, politically, diplomatically, strategically, discursively. And however, and this is also true for the previous administration, however, with the current administration, things have passed the Rubicon. In a sense, we are really in uncharted territory, in the sense that while the military and financial support is not new, what I find somewhat having passed that breaking point is the political cover for Israel, because there is also with the attacks in the region that target also a number of states that have been seen like considered allies of the United States. There is a possible acceptance that the alliance with Israel is worth the erosion of other ties. There is a risk in this. I mean, I don't understand why people don't see the danger, the extreme danger of what is happening right now. But going back to Palestine, what I find extremely concerning is the incitement, what has changed at the discursive level. Because since February, I said when the Trump administration, when President Trump evoked the image of the Gaza Riviera and hinting the Palestinians should leave, I would say this is the first time that U.S. endorses publicly, making it become a part of the U.S. foreign policy, the forced displacement of the Palestinians. In the sense, clearly they didn't oppose it, but at the same time, they never endorsed it to the point that it became U.S. policy, and this has become more evident, and I think it's wrong. It's wrong. It's legally wrong, morally wrong, and dangerous. The sanctions are unacceptable. The sanctions against me, of course, I am the first U.S. person to be sanctioned, and this must be removed. I mean, I urge the United Nations, like the Secretary General, the members of the General Assembly, don't let this become a precedent, because it's not going to be limited to me as it always happened. It's extremely serious, because it violates in one stroke of a pen the UN Charter, the UN Convention on Privileges and Immunities, but it's totally retaliatory, and it doesn't only affect me. I keep on saying I have members of my own family, including my daughter, who are directly affected by these, and it's incredible the financial hurdle that this is causing to my family. Why do I have to pay with my own life for what? For having done my job? So again, I don't like the personalization of what matters. This is why I'm saying what happens to me is now happening also to 9 judges and prosecutors of the International Criminal Court, and this should have created really such an uproar, but also Palestinian human rights organizations. So on the one hand, I expect the United Nations to stand firmly against this. On the other hand, I expect regional groups to stand firmly against it, because I'm European, I'm Italian. It's unbelievable that I have to suffer the weight of this vicious administrative move, even in my own country where I cannot open a bank account. So Europe should institute the European blocking statute to protect people who from this personal ad personam attacks from today is the United States, tomorrow can be another state. So, yeah.
You asked me about the numbers killed. Now, I can give you one example. Ukraine. In the war, since Russia's invasion of Ukraine, 14 journalists have been killed in Ukraine. 252, on the other hand, killed in Gaza, including dozens targeted. Probably in terms of numbers, the second highest would be Afghanistan, where, as you know, there was conflict for more than a decade. And during that time, I don't have the exact numbers, but I think it was only in dozens killed over 2 decades. And again, you can see both in terms of time as well as in terms of numbers how outrageous are the casualties of journalists in Gaza.
Gabriela, and then Musa.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Have some questions. Gabriela Sotomayor, Mexico Proceso. Do you think that Mr. Netanyahu cares about the hostages? Because we were here talking with the mothers of some of them, and they say that they feel abandoned by Mr. Netanyahu in the case of the hostages. That is my first question. Then to Irene Khan, how is the situation of freedom of expression inside Israel, freedom of the press? Because I don't know if young people, women, do they know what Netanyahu is doing to the children in Gaza? I mean, do they know? And then my last question